nightmares that eat you alive. When darkness swallows light and the predators come out in day and night, and a girl or woman's light begins to dim along everyone's sight. When families silence their related craze, when the community justifies these ways, and a nation writes it off as just another phase. When rapes are not recognized until they are dead. When our nation is paying no attention. When she walked out the door with naked face, and she is told she asked for it at any case. There's been an awful lot of silence. We need to stand together. We need to break the silence, and we need more than men to do that. And these nightmares will eat you alive if you don't talk. Let us stand together. Let us break this silence.
Condemn this incident.
Exactly.
We had a gender-based violence in November last year. We should not have to fear simply walking in the streets to do a basic chore.
And when they were done, they slit her throat and
academics and students from UCT are expected to gather outside Parliament today to picket.
In 2019, gender-based violence was highlighted as a major problem in South Africa. The murders of young women in many parts of our country resulted in a national outcry where both women and men took to the streets to protest and raise awareness of this serious challenge. At Working on Fire, we responded to the call of action by hosting marches, workshops, and candlelight vigils to remember women and children who have been affected.
At Working on Fire, we recognize that gender-based violence is a problem that affects our women as well as our men. In August this year, the Working on Fire Social Development Department hosted women's forums across the country. The key issue that came out of these forums was that gender-based violence affects the majority of our women. This is alarming, and concurrently, our society was also shouting out for action to be taken. This called for a national strategy to address gender-based violence within the organization. To redress this, as an organization, we will continue to do our workshops to address gender-based violence, to do our community outreach, and to ensure that we have ongoing debates in both our men and women forums going forward.
As part of our national strategy, education workshops were held in all provinces with Working on Fire leadership. This process allowed for management to openly discuss the problem and come up with solutions to effect positive change. To develop a deeper understanding of gender-based violence, we interviewed Dr. Mary Hames, the Director of the Gender Equity Unit at the University of the Western Cape.
Gender-based violence is a very broad concept, and it doesn't really focus on a particular gender or a particular sex. So violence against women in particular in this country has reached endemic proportions. And it's not only the physical kind of or the sexual kind of violence, but these kinds of violence usually reach the media. If somebody's been raped or if somebody has been killed, as we've seen this year. So there's also other kinds of violence perpetrated against women, like verbal violence, economic violence, like I said, sexual violence, I've already mentioned, assault. And these things, add up to the broad terminology or understanding of violence against women. The way we are raised and the perceptions that we have about men and men's roles in society. Patriarchy is so deeply entrenched in our society. It's in our institutions, whether it's primary schools, high schools, and where I'm working at university level or post-school. level, then it's also within our religious bodies. And for me, school and religion have got a great impact on perceptions in society. We have the most progressive legislation around gender-based violence and violence against women in this country. So we've got family courts, we've got equality courts, you know, and many of these courts, access to the judicial system is supposedly to be free. If you don't have money, you don't have to pay a lawyer to go and defend you. But the system is not working. The system is broken. And actually what I conclude is that these women, they're fearful of the system. They are fearful of the perpetrator. They are fearful of the court system because we don't know how it works. And the way the court system works is that you're being re-traumatized within the court. You're not being believed by the police that is supposed to come and do the investigation. The restraining order is just a piece of paper and it means nothing. The research, a couple of years have been done by the Medical Research Council, and they actually went to the mortuaries. And what they found is that these women's bodies showed old defensive wounds on them, you know, the way they would have tried to, you know, to prevent the violence to their bodies, to their faces, etc. These kinds of things in it is horrendous, and I think I can continue the kind of horrendous types of violence in this country that's taking place. And for me, it is that a society is complicit because I think many of us know that violence occurs in our families, in our neighbors' house, in our streets, in our places of work, etc. But we prefer not to become involved and keep silent. It is when people start to accept that it's violence as normal. So we don't have to act upon that, or we don't have to have steps to prevent that. Because if the judicial system is violent, it's violent if they don't want to believe you, if they don't want to listen to you, if you have to wait for days to get a restraining order, if you go into court and you're being re-traumatized, then that is violence. And we should not think that it's over. Right, we should not relax our efforts to continuously speak and bombard, because we're going into a season now, the festive season, where people are going to work, there's going to be more liquor and parties and people running out of money. So this is the period of the height of violence that we're entering in.
It is clear that at Working on Fire, we need to take a firm stance against this societal ill so that we can look forward to a gender-based violence-free workplace. To respond to this national epidemic, the Social Development Department decided to come up with a national strategy to address gender-based violence in a holistic manner. Our strategy to do this includes ensuring that our legislative and policy framework is responsive to gender needs of both women and men. We also work with women to provide support to survivors as well as self-awareness and development. Working on Fire also recognizes the need to work with men to redress the problem. Our strategy also includes doing advocacy and lobbying both internally and in society to effect positive change.
As part of the social development team, we recognize that in society, as in our communities, and even at Working on Fire, we do have a gender-based violence problem. It is a problem that, even though it's recognized, we need people to understand the deeper meaning of gender. Then we've done a gender awareness workshop, and we looked into how gender-based violence comes in. The aim of this is to actually make sure that each and every person out there understand the role that they need to play to stop the gender-based violence, and also to teach other people about gender-based violence so that it goes to a point where it's completely eliminated. In dealing with equipping people with an understanding of a gender-based violence situation. It won't help to just make people sit and listen to a lecture. But what is important is to put people together in groups where individuals get to talk about their own understanding and then they share the meaning. Now, in sharing this meaning, there are activities that we actually included, like looking at if you were to have a small baby, will you understand how your actions can actually impact on gender issues in future?
Touch base on the gender-based violence workshop that we had the past few weeks. While I, as Bongani Khabati, have learned a lot. You know, I'm from the big family. A lot of brothers, you know, we have women. So in that case, you know, I would do what I used to see what others are doing in their women and so forth. But this workshop have actually made me realize in person that actually I thought I had it all. I respect women, I respect my wife, I respect other men, but you know what? It was not everything, you know. It was not exhausted until I attended this workshop. This workshop actually taught me a lot of things, like we did an exercise of, you know, a 24-hour shift, how a woman spent hours, a 24-hour shift. Then I realized that I spent 2 hours doing an intense labor, and I call it a day. A woman will do trips and traps and that. They are home 24 hours. I still expect her to fulfill my expectation. Apart from my own woman, it made me realize that the balance is not there. The scale is not level. There's a lot that our women are actually, you know, suffering with an expectation of us men to say, you as a woman, you need or you are expected to do 1, 2, 3. But, you know, this 24-hour shift to me was a highlight. Looking at the provincial, you know, working on fire, I see it's necessary that everyone in the province needs to reflect to themselves. We need to take this workshop to our community, to our church, to everywhere where we can add value. We need to take it further. We need to again have our own now workshop that we have understood from the workshop what then. We as a province collectively. Then from there, we can take it to our society. There is a lot that we can achieve if we can take the concept of this training and take it across to our community.
Today we are attending the GBV, which is the Gender-Based Violence Against Women and Children at the MTPA. Of course, I find the workshop very fruitful and very interesting. And obviously, the information that I came here with, it's not the same as the one I've acquired. Now I understand that when we say gender-based violence, it's not just a physical violence, but also the words, the things that we do to other people. It's either they break them or they make them. So I would like to take this knowledge back to my community and make a difference in other people's lives. Whatever information that I have, I will make sure that it descends down to the communities, for they can know better, for they can know what exactly to do and how to conduct themselves towards other people.
Today we had our gender-based violence workshop, an excellent workshop that was actually required for a long time in the country, in WOF, to try and change the behavior of our participants, our communities out there. I think today the workshop went very well. The participants that were here and the management staff that was here took everything in a positive note to go and implement in the organization, in the province, and in their communities as well. So I think going forward, the workshop should bear fruits that will change our society for the better future.
As parents, we have this mentality that if it's a girl, there's a certain way that this particular child must adhere to. If it's a boy, he must behave in a certain way, of which that child is entitled to live out his dream. We must just support that dream, that it becomes a reality. And what I'm taking back to the base, I will just inform them if they are parents, they must raise their child and support what they want to be, what they desire to achieve in life, instead of choosing for them.
Today we have attended the gender-based violence workshop, and it was good and it was informative. We thank the WOF management to give us this chance today to come and attend it. And then the message to you guys is to stop the gender-based violence against women and children. And today we have learned, and we're gonna pass the message to the team, and we are happy to be here.
Today marks a very important day in our lives as Eastern Cape Provincial Staff Management, together with our crew leaders from different bases. We had a session led by the SDP, which outlined gender-based violence. To our surprise, this has been happening in our lives from communities, and it was outlined broadly. We've got a duty as a team in the province to make an awareness and to dig out the elements and the components of gender-based violence that are still occurring in our bases, in our areas of work. There is a lot that has been shared. There's a lot that one will be taking back home and will be structuring a strategic plan on how to deal with this matter. It's a matter of agency. We need to root it out. People are suffering. People have been suffering, sometimes unaware. Now that we are aware, we need to root it out.
Today we are here about the GBV, which is gender-based violence. That is allowing us to know about more the impacts, the causes, and the costs. I never knew that the cost of a GBV could be billions in rands. I thought it was something light, but now I know. So now it's time to return to the bases and have a small workshop with the crew members. And SDP organizes the community awareness for GBV and also in the workplace.
My views on GBV is that men should refrain from abusing women or children. It's high time that we stand up and fight those men who are abusing children and women. It's high time that we bring a men conference to address such issues and be a positive nation that protects women and children against gender-based violence.
As Working on Fire in the province of Eastern Cape, we are urged to say we will fight it and then we'll stop it.
At Working on Fire, we recognize that gender-based violence is not a women's issue. Thus, we work with men by hosting ongoing forums to discuss issues of concern, setting up of support groups at base level, and offering self-awareness and personal development training for men. We believe that working with the problem of gender-based violence head-on and decisively. Change starts with us at Working on Fire, in our families and in our community.